Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. You are not going to believe what they want to replace chicken with. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this machine right here is what they want to replace our chicken with. And not only chicken, but all of the meats that we eat here in the United States. The United States, according to this article that I'm going to go ahead and share with you all, and stick around because this is under the guise of climate change. Of course, everything is climate change, but stick around where I'm going to show you that it has nothing to do with climate change. It just has to do with an agenda of making you eat what they want you to eat. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you can't grow your own meat, if you can't get meat that's grown in your or raised, right, in your local ranch or local farmers, and the only place that you can get your meat is through a company that has a sophisticated method of making that meat through cell cultivation, how much control do you think that they will have over you? I mean, take away everything else. Take away the CBDCs, take away all of these draconian measures that they take to take our liberties away on a daily basis. Take all of that stuff away. If the only people that can provide you with meat are the people that know how to chemically cultivate meat with a machine such as this right here, if that's the only way that we can do it, who do you think is going to control how much or what kind of meat you can eat? And I know to many of you vegans out there, I have no problem with vegans. I have no problem with vegetarians. Eat what you want to eat for whatever reason you think you want to eat that. But stay out of other people's business when it comes to them eating what they want to eat. And if you're eating only vegetables because you want to save the environment, and or you are for this fake meat, this lab cultivated, this lab generated meat because you think it's going to save the world, well, stand by, ladies and gentlemen, because I've got something to share with you that may change your mind when it comes to us saving the world by making fake meat. One of the points I was getting at earlier is that the United States is now the second country in the world, only second country in the world, that has approved the cultivation of meat through a lab process so that people can eat. Think about how dangerous this is, right? Let's go ahead and play make-believe world, right? We're in make-believe world right now. So you remember we're in make-believe world, where a couple of years, 3 years ago or so, the governments around the world said, you have to take this because it's for your own good. It's so that you can save the children and save your grandmother, as grandmothers and grandfathers were dying alone in hospitals and old folks' homes because they were not allowed to be visited by their families. You remember that when they say, you have to take this to save the world? Imagine how easy it would be for the government to collude with these companies that make these lab-grown meats to put whatever they want in those meats that are lab grown, to put whatever, remember, we're in just make-believe land, to put whatever pharmaceutical product they would want in those meats. Just think about that, ladies and gentlemen, just from that one aspect. But how much are you for giving control of your food to an organization that has proven time and time again that they do not care about you? What is wrong with people nowadays? Lab-grown meats gets green light on U.S. menus. The WEF's, imagine that, dietary blueprint for the masses is becoming a reality as lab-grown meat, bugs, and plant-based foods are quickly being adopted under the guise of solving climate change. I think they're being adopted under the guise of ESG. Right? Under the guise of ESG, ladies and gentlemen. And climate change is one of those things under ESG, environmental part. All right, that's what I think. I think that a lot of companies are being bullied in order to push this so that they can have a higher ESG score. But I say this, I say that the free market will decide eventually. The free market will eventually decide what kind of meats we eat. Imagine that. Did you think 20 years ago that we'd be talking about this? That one day they would be trying to push lab-grown meats on us? I don't know. U.S. regulators approving the sale of meat cultivated from chicken cells. Listen to this, meat cultivated from chicken cells. Is that really meat? All right. This makes the U.S. the second country worldwide besides Singapore to approve the sale of lab-grown meat. And just like that thing that they were telling us that was approved through an emergency act a few years back, right? That wasn't really tested, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it was tested. It was tested in the masses. It's just that we're not going to find out exactly what the repercussions of that medication was, probably for years. And we're starting to find out now, right? There's an article that I was looking over today, something about deaths are in a rise, unexpected deaths or the deaths of younger people or something like that because of heart problems. The Upside Down Food CEO says that culture meat in the U.S. will fundamentally change how meat makes it to our table. It will fundamentally change. Well, they hope so, ladies and gentlemen. I personally think that this will go away because I personally think that enough people will have had enough with the government and non-governmental institutions or organizations trying to tell us how we have to live our life, all the way down to what kind of meat we can eat. So how do you prepare for this? Put away the meat that you like. Put away enough so that you can have enough put away for a time period where if this does come to be, right, that you can avoid eating that kind of crap and eat the stuff that you know that you put away that's wholesome. Right? That's how you can prepare for this. And they say instead of all of that land and all of that water that's used to feed all of these animals that are slaughtered, we can do it in a different way. And I'm sure that it doesn't take any energy to make these cultivated meats. It's no energy to transport the ingredients. It's no energy to put into the machines, to make the machines, to run the machines. And here, at least we have a representative. I've never heard of this gentleman before, but at least we have a representative here that is actually telling it like it is. And he says the globalists are at it again, pushing their plans for shifting the world toward a vegan diet as they dream of ending meat production. And look at what's happening in New York. I'll go ahead and mention it again. Look at New York. Now they want to be able to track. At least this is what I remember reading. They want to be able to track how much meat you use and have you use less meat or processed foods in the amount of like 33% less here this coming year. They have an agenda, ladies and gentlemen, and the agenda is called Agenda 2030. By 2030, they want all of these things to come to be that are at the expense of we the people and not at the expense of the authors of that said agenda. And finishing it off, as for gauging the popularity of lab-grown meat, look at the giant flop plant-based meats or plant-based foods have been in the U.S. And they have been a giant flop. Good for you, American consumer. Let them know what you want and let your dollars do the talking. The bulls in the industry, I think, had a very wild, optimistic expectation of how high the market would get. Right? I think that the bulls in the industry of plant-based foods were probably hoping that the government would shove it down our throats. But that didn't happen. All right? You can't force feed an economy. You can try to propagandize an economy, but you can't really force feed them. But they say, but the consumer's environment is tough, and this stuff is not cheap. It's going to take time to change cultural practices. You understand what they're saying here? It's going to take time to change cultural practices. How do you change cultural practices? I can give you one very good example that modifies your behavior, and that's through taxation, ladies and gentlemen. Not just laws that say you have to do this or do that, but they can tax meat. They can tax cow farts. They can tax cow burps. They can make it to whereas feed for cows and chickens and pork is extremely expensive. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is a way to change a cultural or culture behavior. Right? And we've seen a lot of this happening already. The carbon footprint of lab-grown beef orders of magnitude worse than traditionally raised study. What this article here is saying, and this was from this year, just a month ago or so, not even a month ago, they're talking about how there's an even bigger carbon footprint when you culture meat than there is when you just allow nature to do its thing. Lab-grown or cultivated meats environmental impact is likely to be orders of magnitude higher than retail beef based on current and near-term production methods. Now, this is from a study that has not been peer reviewed. But ladies and gentlemen, these studies have been done prior to this. And all you have to do is use your common sense. Let's talk about plant-based meats. I know that this is cultured meat, but let's talk about plant-based meats because I actually did a video on that a while back. So let's say to make one of these Beyond Burgers, I think, or Beyond Meat, whatever those are called. To make one of those patties, you need a whole bunch of ingredients. And not only that, let's take a side note on that. All of these ingredients that are like on that Beyond Meat, these are ultra processed ingredients. Meaning that they take a pea, for example, to get protein out of it, and they process the hell out of it. By the time that they have the end result, that pea no longer even looks like a pea. And it's actually worse for you than the original pea. And it's actually worse for you than you just consuming meat. Ladies and gentlemen, ultra processed foods are not good because they're not natural at all. They may say natural flavorings on the ingredients, but take a look at all of the other ingredients and then take a look at the process by which those ingredients were put through in order to make it that patty that you see at the store, right? The energy needed and greenhouse gases emitted during all stages of production of lab-grown meat is far greater than traditionally raised beef. Imagine that, ladies and gentlemen. You're not going to hear that in the mainstream media. I guarantee you that. This set up a critical question for cultured meat production. Is it a pharmaceutical product or a food product? Imagine that, ladies and gentlemen. Please think for yourselves. Don't allow yourselves to be manipulated by people that are in really nice suits on TV or really nice dresses, whatever they're wearing. Don't allow yourself to be manipulated by people like that have only one interest for you, and that's to make a profit from you. It's to make a profit from you and to make you dependent on these things that they provide. Because trust me, if we eradicate beef, if we eradicate chicken, pork, whatever meat you eat, the way that we have it now, they're going to decide what kind of meat you have, when you have it, what's inside of it. And imagine if they collude with the government, ladies and gentlemen, and the government starts telling them, yeah, go ahead and put this in there. But it's not part of the ingredients. Just don't put it on the ingredients list. When I eat beef, I know what I'm eating. Beef. And yes, I know some beef have the mRNA, some beef have the whatever it is that they put in these stuff. Get the very best meat that you can get. That's the best that you can do, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to raise your own, raise your own. If you know a local rancher or farmer, go do business with them. Right? The meat that I get is from Costco and from Tommy G's. From Tommy G's on a rare occasion because it's a lot more expensive than Costco. But that's the best that I can get. I actually put an order in for a side of beef, but there's a 1.5 year waiting period. I think I'm about 2 months into that list, right? Well, that's the best that I can do. So you have to do the best that you can do. All right, ladies and gentlemen, one last thing that I want to cover with you to let you all know that this climate change stuff is all bull, ladies and gentlemen. It's what I've been telling you for years now. This is great news. California drought is over. Major reservoirs are overflowing. And this is great news. I'm not being hyperbolic or being sarcastic or anything. But look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see if this will pop up, this big picture here. Yeah, look at this. This is what it used to look like right here. And look at what it looks like now. After California had all those rains. Now, it's still not 100% full, but you have to say that this here is much better than this up here. And look at this one. Oh, my goodness. I mean, this looks great. I'm very happy that California is getting this drought situation under control, or really that nature is getting it under control, ladies and gentlemen. Because I'm sure that you're not hearing this in the mainstream media, and I have no idea whether you are or not, because I don't follow the mainstream media, right? But when this drought was occurring for think the last 6 or 7 years or so, it was all climate change. Oh my goodness, the earth is burning up. The earth is burning up. Look, all of the water is disappearing. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. This one in this case was a 1,200-year cycle. It was a mega drought that was equivalent in nature to ones that occurred 1,200 years ago. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's happened before, and it will happen again, whether you drive an SUV or not, whether you eat beef or not, whether you only eat vegetables or not. It will happen again, ladies and gentlemen. Nature is cyclical. which means that this will happen again. We are going to go through some good times. California is going to get the water that they need if they don't misuse the water that they have by flushing it out into the ocean in order to save the spotted owl, right? And they actually give water to the farmers and ranchers so that they can go ahead and grow the produce and the seeds and oils and stuff that we rely on, that we expect from them. Right? It's very important for California to have this, not just for them, but for us, the entire United States. We get a lot of stuff from California. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all a cycle. Do you think that climate change made these reservoirs fill up? Think about it. If you're on the fence about climate change, think about it. What made the water come back? If the earth is burning up, what made the water come back? It's all a cycle, right? We are in the beginning of what is a grand solar minimum. We're in like the first 2 or 3 years. And grand solar minimums bring with it erratic weather patterns, right? We may have a lot of flooding in this area of the world, and we may have a lot of drought in this other area. We may have cold spots in one area, and we may have really super hot spots in another area. We may have hurricanes where hurricanes maybe don't normally, happen, and then we may have other areas where hurricanes happen all the time that's very nice and calm. It's just an erratic weather pattern that we're going to be going through for the next several years due to a grand solar minimum. It's going to last more than a decade, if not decades. So get used to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the world that we live in. But not for 1 second should you believe that you are the problem. You are not the problem. Yes, we go ahead and we pollute the earth, but polluting the earth is not the same thing as changing the weather pattern of the earth. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I hope that you got something out of this. I hope that if you like meat, go out there and get your meat. Go out there and secure some meat. If you can freeze dry meat, freeze dry meat. If you can pressure can meat to put it away for long term, pressure can meat. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you eat meat, because I believe there will come a short time where they will get their way and meat will become either so expensive or so unavailable that it's going to be very hard to come by. So get it now, put it away now, and be prepared for it. All right, it's not the end of the world. But man, wouldn't it be nice for you to have some meat with your stew? When they're trying to stop us from eating meat, I think it would be great. But the message of this video is not just about meat. It's about get prepared for what's coming and learn to think for yourself. Just take a look at the picture. Who did this? Who made the water come back? Was it because of us? No, it's because of nature. And remember that Simpure is still having that 20% off sale on their site. And it's not only for the air purifiers, all right, but it's also for all of the reverse osmosis water filtration systems, which in my opinion are at a very good price, all right? Having said that, again, have a great rest of your day. God bless every one of you. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.